Extra light. These strings typically run from a thickness of 40 to 95 thousandths of an inch, making them the thinnest and most flexible option available in this lineup. Players who focus heavily on techniques like slapping, popping, or fast chordal work often gravitate toward this size, as the reduced tension requires much less physical effort to press down against the fretboard. Historically, as virtuoso bass playing emerged in the late 70s and 80s, musicians needed a setup that allowed the instrument to sing out more like a lead guitar. The trade-off for this agility is a slight loss in the deep, rumbling low-end frequencies, giving the notes a brighter and more articulate character that easily cuts through a dense mix. Notable players who have built their signature fast-paced slap and tap sounds around these thinner gauges include Mark King and Victor Wooten, while Metallica's Cliff Burton also favored extra light strings for his aggressive, lead-style playing. Hyperlight, measuring 40 to 100 thousandths of an inch. This set bridges the gap between extreme flexibility and traditional bass depth. It keeps the higher strings highly flexible for effortless popping and melodic fills, while adding slightly more mass to the lower strings. Many session musicians prefer this middle ground when recording pop or jazz tracks, as the slightly increased mass compared to the extra slinky sets restores a bit of fundamental warmth without sacrificing much playability. The tension remains comfortable enough for long recording sessions, easing the strain on the player's hands while providing just enough resistance. Virtuoso players like Marcus Miller and Jeff Berlin have been known to utilize this lighter middle ground for their technically demanding styles. Superlight. Moving up to a 45 to 100 gauge, this set offers a forgiving yet balanced tonal starting point that introduces a slightly firmer feel on the higher strings compared to the hyper set. The balanced approach to tension and tone has made this specific string size a common choice for players transitioning from standard electric guitar or those who want moderate tension across the board. You will often find these factory-installed on basses aimed at beginners, as they provide an excellent middle ground that works well for a wide variety of playing styles. Megadeth's David Ellefson has notably used these gauges for a fast, articulate metal attack without fighting overly stiff strings. Hybrid. Measuring 45 to 105 thousandths of an inch, this unique set intentionally splits the difference between two standard sizes to create an incredibly versatile middle ground. Manufacturers build these packs by taking the higher, thinner strings from a lighter set and pairing them with the thick foundational lower strings from a standard medium set. This clever combination solves a very specific problem for modern players, keeping the higher strings highly flexible for popping, slapping, and fast melodic fills, while the lower strings maintain the tight, thumping tension required to anchor a heavy rhythm. Because it brilliantly balances these two distinct physical feels, this exact blended thickness has become the go-to choice for dynamic, genre-hopping bassists like Pino Palladino, NOFX's Fat Mike, and Blink-182's Mark Hoppus. Regular, spanning from a 50 on the highest string to a 105 on the lowest. This gauge adds extra mass to the top strings for a beefier overall sound. The thickness provides a solid equilibrium of thick, punchy lows and defined, present highs, giving the instrument an iconic, foundational voice in everything from classic rock to modern R&B. Pickup manufacturers often voice their electronics specifically around the magnetic output generated by strings in this mass range, knowing it represents a baseline for many players. The tension requires a firm touch, rewarding musicians with a massive dynamic range that responds beautifully to both gentle fingerstyle and aggressive picking. This is the exact thickness famously used to drive the rhythm section behind legends like Flea and Geddy Lee. Heavy, starting at 55 and ending at 110 thousandths of an inch, these thicker cables require a serious amount of hand strength and a properly set up instrument to handle the increased neck tension. Rock and metal basses originally adopted this size to achieve a booming, thunderous bottom end that could compete with stacks of distorted guitar amplifiers. The thicker the string, the less it vibrates in a wide arc, which allows players to strike the instrument with immense force without the strings constantly buzzing against the frets. While you lose a lot of high-end sparkle and the ability to easily bend notes, the sheer physical output and driving fundamental frequencies make them essential for aggressive, hard-hitting genres, famously utilized by heavy metal pioneers like Iron Maiden's Steve Harris. Extra heavy, stretching from 65 up to a massive 130 on the lowest string. These are highly specialized tools designed almost exclusively for players who detune their instruments far below standard pitch. If you tried to tune a standard set down to C or B, the strings would become impossibly loose and sloppy, losing all musical definition and feeling like rubber bands. By radically increasing the physical thickness, players restore the necessary tension to keep the strings taut and intonated, even at extremely low pitches. This necessity grew right alongside the evolution of modern heavy metal and extended range guitars, where bassists were forced to plunge into subterranean frequencies just to maintain their structural role in the rhythm section. Bassists who need to reach these earth-shaking low registers, like the late Peter Steele or Slipknot's Paul Gray, have frequently utilized this exact strategy to maintain their heavy, aggressive attack. Custom and signature strings. Unlike ordinary bass string sets, these strings are developed or assembled around the exact requirements of individual professional players, meaning there is no single gauge range that defines the category. Some musicians combine standard sets with individually selected heavier strings, allowing them to balance tension across unusual tunings, extended range instruments, and highly aggressive playing styles. Bassists such as Juan Alderete have supplemented hybrid slinky sets with massive 110 and 130 gauge strings, while Matt Keane has used a hybrid set combined with an individual 135 to maintain definition at extremely low pitches. Other touring musicians use entirely custom round-wound combinations, notably Pino Palladino's Smoothie flats, available in 38 to 98 and 43 to 108 configurations. These precision-polished cobalt flat wounds were developed to reproduce Palladino's smooth feel, flexible response, and deep vintage warmth. Rather than simply offering another level of thickness, custom and signature strings demonstrate how gauge, material, tension, and construction can be tailored around the sound and technique of one specific player.